One morning around 4 o'clock, June Carter was driving her car as fast as she could. She was miserable, and she was terrified. She later said, "I thought, I'm falling in love with somebody I have no right to fall in love with, and it came to me, it's just like a ring of fire." She pulled over. She wrote the song. Ring of Fire became one of the biggest hits in country music history. Johnny Cash recorded it in 1963. It spent 7 weeks at number 1. He didn't write it, she did, about him. At 4 in the morning, driving alone, falling in love with someone she had no right to love. This video is about the 13 years it took for Johnny Cash and June Carter to find their way to each other, and what it cost them both to get there. The first time Johnny Cash met June Carter, he told her he was going to marry her. He was 24 years old. He was already married to Vivian Liberto, with whom he had 4 daughters. He had been married for 2 years. He said it anyway. June Carter was 26. She was also already married to Carl Smith, a country singer, with whom she had a daughter. She was a member of the Carter family, one of the most famous names in country music history. She thought Cash was charming and slightly crazy, and not her problem. Within months, they were touring together. Cash had asked to have June and her family on his tour. The official reason was musical. The real reason was that he couldn't stop thinking about her. June knew. She could see what was happening. She tried not to let it happen. She failed. They both did. The problem was not just that they were both married. The problem was what Johnny Cash was becoming. By the early 1960s, Cash's addiction to amphetamines and alcohol had begun to consume everything around him. His first marriage was disintegrating. His career was erratic. He was disappearing for days at a time, reappearing wrecked and unreliable. June watched this happening. She cared about him. She refused to be with him, not because she didn't love him, but because she wouldn't love someone into their destruction. She told him she would not be with him until he was clean. She said it clearly, and she meant it. Cash proposed to her for the first time. She said no. He proposed again. She said no. He proposed roughly 30 times over the course of several years. She said no every time. She stayed on the tour. She sang with him every night. She watched over him when he was at his worst. She refused to marry him. What does it mean to love someone and refuse to give them what they're asking for because you know it would hurt them? To stay close enough to help without giving in. It means you love them more than you love being loved back. That is a specific and very difficult thing. On February 22nd, 1968, Johnny Cash and June Carter were performing in London, Ontario, Canada. There were 7,000 people in the audience. Cash had been clean for some time by then. Not perfectly, not without struggle, but genuinely trying. And June had been part of why. Her parents had moved into his house to help him through the worst of it. She had stayed. In the middle of the concert, Cash stopped the show. He turned to June at her microphone and he said, "I'm not going to sing another song until you answer me. Will you marry me?" 7,000 people went quiet. June later said she thought, "This is the 31st time." And she thought, "He means it this time. He has always meant it, but this time I think I finally believe him." She said yes. The audience went wild. Cash kept his word. He sang another song. They were married 8 days later in Franklin, Kentucky. He was 36. She was 39. They had been in love for 13 years. The marriage lasted 35 years. They performed together almost every night of it. June kept Cash alive when he couldn't keep himself alive. Through relapses, through the lean years when Nashville had moved on, through the comeback with Rick Rubin when a new generation found him. In 1994, Cash wrote her a letter for her 65th birthday. The letter was later named in a poll as the greatest love letter ever written. He wrote, "You still fascinate and inspire me. You influence me for the better. You're the object of my desire, the number one earthly reason for my existence." They were 62 and 65 when he wrote it, 30 years married still. June Carter Cash died on May 15, 2003. She was 73. Cash was at her bedside. He held her hand. He died 4 months later. His son later said that after June died, his father simply had no reason left to fight. If this story meant something to you, and I think it did, tell one person about this channel and subscribe, because there are more stories like this one, and every one of them is true. June wrote Ring of Fire at 4 in the morning, driving alone, falling in love with someone she had no right to love. 35 years later, he was still the reason she wrote it.